Oh,
All right, good evening, everybody. Today is day 5 of our Autism Acceptance Month conversation. Whether you want to be aware or you want to accept, we will share all things autism tonight.
that part.
And I decided to bring an extra special guest to the table.
Hey,
So I'm going to give everybody just a few moments to tune in. If you are watching this as a replay, please let us know that you are here and just put hashtag replay so that I know that you are visiting. Also, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sandy, the letter B, and the word law. I am hoping to be building out this channel with more content in addition to my passion project of Autism Acceptance Month. So, again, please click like, click share, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we're going to just go ahead and get started. I have an extra special guest here today that shares some of my interesting experiences when it comes to this world of autism. And it's funny because we didn't know that we were connected in this way until some random occurrence, I think it was, or maybe it was an
Mhm.
event. Was it an event at a school?
I feel like maybe it was an event, and I was like, Sandy,
Looking at you like, Tracy, what you doing here?
right,
I'm like, what is going on here? How did Tracy get here where I'm at?
right.
So I think we're probably the best people to kind of have a conversation about being a family member with an autistic person and someone that you probably will find you're going to cross paths frequently because they're young, you want to be around them a bit. But we have a very unique perspective. So before I go into anything too deep, I want to make sure that we introduce ourselves. So I'm going to start by saying today you are speaking with Auntie Sandy and cousin Tracy. And I'm going to let Tracy introduce herself first to kind of give you an idea of who she is and how she became connected with autism.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy. How did I become connected? So, my aunt has a son. He is autistic, and we were all living together at one point.
Long
So,
story short.
yeah, I mean to keep it simple. We were all living together, and that was actually my first. Well, I worked with kids that had autism when I taught preschool, but it's different when you're in the house and when you're in a school setting. So that was really my first real interaction with a child that had autism.
So, like cousin Tracy, I my name is Sandy and I became the auntie of the character that is now 15 years old.
Oh my God.
And when I tell you the time has flown, because I remember when this character was a true little bit. So, but autism became what I would describe as a staple in my life at a very young age for my nephew. So he had to be about, I'd say, 2.5.
Mhm.
And immediately I became autism information and resource person.
Right.
So I began to do, much like my brother was doing, a lot of like digging, looking online for stuff. Because back then, I mean, 15 years ago, the
Uh,
autism environment was very different.
right.
So crossing paths with somebody who would acknowledge that they had an autistic family member and be interested in looking to connect was kind of rare. Like I feel like it was a different time back
Mhm.
then. Um, so for me, autism has been kind of a part of my life. Like just like autism is a part of my nephew, like he is autistic. I feel like autism is like enveloped in my life. And I always acknowledge, though, that my perspective is that of family member, caregiver, advocate type thing.
Right.
Um, just so that it's clear that, my voice can't overpower someone's voice who is actually autistic. So, um, before we go deep into some back and forth conversation about our experiences, I want to mention a couple of things. So, this Saturday, April the 9th, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be participating in the South Florida Autism Charter School 10th Annual Walk. This is a family event. All are welcome to come and join in. They will have all kinds of activities for the whole family. So, if you're interested, please don't hesitate to send a message, whether you're watching on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or here on YouTube. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to share with you is this Thursday, I will be starting out a LinkedIn audio series where we're going to focus on some essential estate planning issues. And we're going to start off on Thursday with real estate and the probate process, which to me, out of all the probate issues that I deal with, I would say real estate is at the top of the chart, especially homestead issues, issues with multiple people listed on property, people who've passed away a decade ago and they're now just doing the probate for the property, those kinds of issues. So we're going to be doing LinkedIn audio. One of my favorite persons, his name is Troy Holt. He does a lot of basically informational services when it comes to financial understanding, right? Financial literacy. And he is doing this LinkedIn audio series and invited me to be a guest to talk about estate planning issues. So this Thursday, real estate and the probate process. So last but not least, this is day 5, which means you've missed 4 videos if this is your first time here. So please go back and check out the other videos. I try to keep it short, maybe 30, 40 minutes. But please like, comment, share, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. So Tracy, we're going to go ahead and get into it. I want to talk about some basics here because being a family member to someone who is autistic can be an interesting experience. I'm going to use that word. And the reason I say it's interesting is because when you are close to that individual who is autistic, you have a different relationship with them than sometimes the rest of the family. And I will say from my family experience, I can't really say that the whole family has embraced my nephew and his behaviors and who he is, because most of the time people don't really understand it. And they kind of, I would say, fear it, because it's like, many will look at him like he's some kind of alien because he does certain things. You know, he's a character, like your cousin as well. He's a character. He has outbursts sometimes, and you're just like, but why? And of course, we're just sitting there looking at them like, go sit down, please. But I want to talk about family and how that relationship develops, because I've had a hard time over the years understanding why family behaves the way strangers behave sometimes. And how do you cope with that? Because for me, I think I've practiced a bit of avoidance. I'm just in my own little bubble. If you want to be around, you're around. If you're not, it is what it is. That's my thing. How do you kind of cope with that?
Honestly, I think that we've had a good experience, I must say.
Oh, wow.
That's what's up. I think that everyone just kind of fell in line where Isaiah was concerned. At first it was like, you just got to get used to like the nuances and what's going on and figuring out like what the triggers are and like those things. But right. I think I can honestly say that everybody kind of just fell in line, figured it out.
The soldiers.
Yeah, everybody kind of fell in line and just did what they had to do.
Look, it's weird for me because, I hear so many stories of folks that kind of feel a little bit like I feel, which is a little sense of an isolation, right? You can't really do family activities in a sense, because the one thing I don't like and I don't tolerate is when people look at my nephew and do weird stuff, right? So for me, I'm not going to subject him to certain behaviors, especially when I know people don't understand and they're kind of like, oh, he's making that noise. Like, what's that? No, I don't have, and maybe it's because I just don't have the patience for it, right? It could be me creating the avoidance versus being more open to embracing him being around other people and doing certain things. So that's an interesting point you make, Tracy. Everybody fell in line, and maybe it's possible if you're open to it, right?
It is, and I think it also depends on the amount of time. Like, we had a family that was always around each other.
Right.
So when you're always around, it's something you get used to. It's not like you see each other every once in a while. Everyone was always together. So I think when there's that dynamic of always being around, it becomes the norm. So it's something
Gotcha.
you get used to. I can't say that for me. I think if it was something I wasn't around all the time, it probably would have been hard to get used to. Like,
Right.
because I think that there's a lot of things that they do now that we simply ignore. We're just like, that's regular, you know? That if it was like a stranger, you would be like, okay.
Look, I might need to do a thing with autism dads or moms, because
Yeah.
I sometimes I look at my brother, I'm like, do you not hear him,
Oh, I used to
exercising his lungs?
listen. I used to say that about all the time. I'm like, you don't hear that? That doesn't bother you?
I'm like,
But no, it just
the
becomes
noise, it's
normal.
like at a
Yeah,
level, there's a decibel to it.
yeah,
It's right in here, like
it
it's in the
is.
chest.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sitting there like
And
he's
it's like
always
as they get older, because it's like now you got a grown man voice, and you're still making all this.
look, it freaks me out sometimes, because I never know, what kind of character I'm gonna get
Uh huh.
sometimes. Some days he's humbly Cyrus wrecking ball song, and other days he's creating his own remix and mixing up a few different types of songs, and you're just like, okay, I know what song that is. Okay, what is that song? Where'd he get that song from? And then other times he's in like he's just angry, and then other times he's just giggling all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, you flux. And I do notice that many times where he's doing that all the time, so that's not
Hmm.
something that I'm going to be paying attention to.
Exactly.
um when it comes to interacting with your cousin, what are some things that you would say to someone who didn't know your cousin? Like, what would you say to them in terms of the approach, the interaction, in terms of what to do, what not to do? Are there any things that you would kind of give people advice about if you had to kind of create a guide of sorts?
Um. So with Isaiah, for me, it was more of getting used to like repetition and knowing that you're not it's not that you're not listening to me, like how it would be with like a child that's not on the spectrum. Like
Right.
if you're not on the spectrum, you're just not listening to me. Like pay attention, you do what I said. But with him, it was like I felt like I had to like slow it down and be like, Isaiah, this is what I want you to do. Like do this. And then I think I had to like try to communicate in a way that I know he would understand. So at first, I try, as far as like not lumping things together. Like
Right.
it's not go in the room, get this, and get this.
Right.
It's gonna be like one thing. Isaiah, go get your shoes, or like it has to
Yes.
be like one thing at a time. I think that that's what for me that was a thing of getting used to, or like learning what he understands versus what he doesn't, so that you kind of set expectations for yourself. Like, and I
Yeah.
will admit, like a lot of times he surprised me when like there was things that I didn't know that he knew. He would do something, and I'll be like, "How do you even know what that is?" But so it was just I felt like it was a learning experience all the time. Like I
Right.
remember when I figured out that he knew what deodorant was. I didn't know that he knew what it was. I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
and I was like, you know what deodorant is? But it's just like a learning experience every day. I think we don't give them enough credit. I think that's what I learned.
You are saying something that's so on point, because there's something that Jeremiah has done for many, many years that I don't think I give him enough credit for really receiving information,
Mm,
because we're so stuck in our world of this is how communication looks and sounds, right?
mm-hmm.
But we don't recognize that because we're dealing with someone who has an intellectual disability, something that's neurological, that kind of shifts the way they process information, the way they interact with the world. I don't give Jeremiah enough credit, because for so many years he's been able to just get my purse and keys. and
Uh-huh.
connects it to what's going on. Because it'll be like, you want to go out? All right, let's go out. Can you go get my purse?
Right.
And he'll go get my purse. And he'll put my purse on me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you want to go out? All of a sudden, his book bag's on. He'd already got his shoes on. He's ready to
Right.
go. So,
Right.
again, we're thinking they're not receiving information a lot of times because the communication is different, because Jeremiah does not speak yet, right? He
Right.
does not verbalize certain things, even though he can make certain sounds, and he can blatantly tell you no, because that head will shake if
Right.
he really says no. Um, but also, I realize that he is processing the things that are happening every single day. So,
Mm-hmm.
as an example, very early on, Jeremiah knew how to put food in the microwave, and
Right.
for whatever reason, understood that the metal spoon or fork or whatever had to come
Shouldn't
out before he put it in the microwave.
mm-hmm.
Now, could that be just because he's been watching us do it so many times? Yes. But could it also be that he's making connections between the fact that I have to heat up food, but I can't heat up the food if I have a spoon there? I got to take the spoon out, put the food in, and then I got to press these
Mm-hmm.
buttons. And sometimes he's just pressing whatever, but he's started to get to the point now where he knows which button to press.
Right.
And now it's just tacking on, all right, press it 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, press it one more time. So you kind of give him the extra language. And the other thing is not recognizing that he makes connections between things.
Right.
So if his dad, let's say his dad's doing something outside, working on, sometimes my brother will fix my car, do certain things. My nephew will go to the door 100 times. He's looking outside like, what's up? Like, when's my dad coming back?
Right.
And then if his dad drives off to go somewhere, it's like, what's happening here? Like, why is my dad not here? Like, he needs to come back in the house. And he
Mm-hmm.
just goes back and forth, back and forth. But, we're thinking to ourselves many times that, a child who's autistic or an adult child who's autistic is not receiving
Right.
information.
Right.
But in reality, what it is they are receiving information. It's just that they're receiving information in a different way.
And they're
And
processing it differently.
they're processing it differently, they're receiving it differently, they're responding to it
Right.
differently, they're receiving signals in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because even, and tell me if Isaiah does this, I'm talking to Jeremiah looking every which way, doing 10,000 things, but guarantee you he's processing everything I'm saying.
100%.
Like,
100%.
complete processing. And and he knows when to do certain things, because it'll be like, he'll give me eye contact for like all afternoon. The second I'm about to take a picture, all right, eye contact
It's
goes to
gone.
it's over here.
Yep.
Or the second that I actually want to do something to him or say something to him, all of a sudden it's aversion. Now I don't want you touching me, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting when we think about how we interact with the world, and really recognizing that an autistic child or an autistic adult is just different. And then that's why it's so important when I see this phrase, different, not less.
Different knowledge.
It's foundational, right? If you want to understand autism, you have to start with a position of, this is just not what you're used to. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that you need to yell so they can hear you, right? They can
Right.
hear you.
Right. Right.
Because I guarantee you, when I tell Jeremiah, go put your shoes on, and he ignores me, but I say, Jeremiah, come get the pizza,
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden the whole body is able to function, right?
Exactly.
So I like that we see these things in our family members, and we can kind of connect them. Now, one thing that I've always wanted to do is be able to educate the community at large, in terms of, as a family member, how do you step in to provide support? Because an autism mom or dad or grandmother or grandfather, like whoever it is that is the supporter and caregiver primarily of an autistic child or adult, needs support,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes a lot.
Right.
It's an exhausting life, both for the child or adult and their parent, because both of them are learning to deal at the same time.
Right.
How do you, as a family member, kind of step in and offer support? Like, what kinds of things would you suggest to folks, or what kinds of things do you do?
For me, well, now it's different because I live outside of the home, so I'm not there often anymore. But before, I think for me, I just used to make it a point to, for me, it was always about understanding him. So like understanding why, because like you said, Isaiah's a little more verbal than Jeremiah
Yeah.
is. Like he'll say things like, "Where's your phone?" or "We going to school?"
I've heard him. I've heard him speaking.
Right. So for me, it was in the times when, because there'll be times when he's like yelling or crying and we don't know what's going on. Like I think in those times I've made it my business to kind of try to figure out, all right, why you acting, and what we would say, like, why you acting crazy, like what's the
Right.
problem, like there's nothing wrong with you, like what is
Right.
it? Like for example, I remember one time he was in a room and he was just crying, he was fussing, he was yelling, and I'm like, yo, what's the problem?
And saying it just like that.
Yeah,
Yo, hey,
like,
hey.
hey, what's the problem? And he's still doing it, and I'm like, Isaiah, what is it? I'm like, what's the problem? And then I looked at the TV and I realized that the TV was on. You know, like when you put it on the off channel, it's the white noise thing.
Right.
So whatever he was watching, the TV changed to that channel. I guess he hit the remote by accident,
Right.
and he didn't know how to change it back.
Aw.
So then, as soon as I changed the channel back to what he's watching, it was over,
Wow.
and he calmed down. And it was like, all right, I have to remember that you can't talk, you can't
Right.
verbalize, hey, the TV changed channels.
Right.
Like that's not something you can verbalize, it's not something that you can explain. So it was more about becoming more aware of his environment and like what he's used to, and then coming into that environment and noticing what changed. All right, so what in here is not
Yeah.
like it normally is, because
Right.
maybe that's the problem. So that's one way, and another way was I just tried to show up, like for things like the walk on Saturday.
Right.
I showed up for when they have those, when SFAX does those classes on Saturday.
Yeah.
There were certain ones that I used to try to show up and
Right.
be there. Try to learn certain things. Learn how to deal with him, learn how to talk to him, just in the event that something happened. And if I had to be the one to watch him for the day or whatever, that I'm not
Right.
just like out in left field, like I don't know what's going on.
Right. Gotcha.
So it was kind of that. And like, I think me and Isaiah always had an interesting relationship. He used to come to my room door and he would never come past the bedroom door. Like he would always just come to the door and just like look in, because I always had my room door closed. So he
Right.
always knew, like, all right. Or when he'll see me, he used to come to me and like put his hand on my face and then just,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's how you saying hi. You know what I'm saying? Like it used to be stuff like that. Or he he used to associate me with the airport, because you know how I was.
I'm so done with the.
So if his
It'd be
mom,
like suitcase, Tracy.
yeah, so if his mom was driving past the airport, he'll be like, Tracy.
Aw. Oh my gosh.
So like it's just things like that you kind of just try to show up and be present.
You gave me something just now. Shifting from this conversation of awareness to acceptance, because you said something important. You said you try to make yourself aware of like kind of like what's going on, because you could jump to a conclusion or respond in a very negative way if he's having some kind of meltdown or tantrum. But instead, you're saying, look, I have to try to kind of get my senses about me to figure out, all right, something's not right here.
Right.
And unless he's able to communicate in some way, shape, or form, I got to try to figure it out, because that's the only way that I can be of a support. And then later, I will now associate, all right, I see you doing this. Here are some options that I can look to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a perfect example, because I know that for many times, Jeremiah had a lot of self-injuring behaviors. So he would hit him. And I mean, he really would go to town on the head, arms, whatever. And many of those things, we started to realize he was either having something wrong with his sinuses. He was having possibly a headache, because you kind of feel the temples and you could feel the throbbing. there was something going on. Maybe the tablet shut down, right? And
Mhm.
for him, instead of going to plug the tablet in, because he has an idea, he's seen us do it, we've tried to get him to do
Yeah.
it. When the tablet shuts down completely, he just keeps trying to turn it back on. So it just keeps making this beeping noise.
Uh-huh.
And so if you're near him, you hopefully hear that and quickly give him,
You realize.
hey, Jeremiah, go put that tablet up, go get another one, right? Because he has a
Mhm.
couple of different ones. But if you don't catch on, again, not being aware of
Yeah.
what's going on, you can potentially continue a cycle.
Yeah.
Meltdowns, tantrums, all kinds of behaviors.
Mhm.
So you said something really important, being aware. And I think more of the reason that I label this month, in my opinion, autism acceptance, is because I think many of us have made some attempts to at least be aware of what autism is, what it's all about, and give ourselves a foundation so that now we can accept these things that are going to happen naturally. Like when Isaiah has those moments, you're not going to be dismissive. You're not going to overreact. Instead, you're having a little framework of these are some potential issues,
Yeah.
and deal with it that way and accept that some of his behaviors you're not going to be able to change. You have to try to just keep working with him. So
Right.
I think that's really an important thing. We're not going to spend too much time tonight because I know that I try to keep these videos short, but what I would like to kind of wrap up with is this. When we think about autism awareness, autism acceptance, the puzzle piece, the infinity symbol, like there's so many things going on in the autism community right now. What are your thoughts about some of these? I almost want to call them little conflicts, right? There's a pushback from those who are actually autistic versus the rest of us, right? Because the rest of us is just like, all right, puzzle piece, hey, circle, hey, color, hey,
Right.
this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're thinking, I just want to be supportive. I just want to show that I'm standing in a position, right? But on the other hand, how many of us are truly tapping into actually autistic voices and allowing those to infuse into our lives to say, oh, I see why you all don't like this. Oh, I get that. So what do you think about this kind of like competing views when it comes to this autism awareness versus acceptance versus, I think, appreciation is another word I'm seeing recently?
So I think that, like with most things, I think that there has to be some understanding on both sides.
Gotcha.
I think that we have to understand that autism is a spectrum, right? So all the autistic people that I have come in contact with, a lot of the kids that I worked with when I was teaching preschool were more towards the nonverbal side.
Right.
So I'm not really used to, and I don't want this to sound bad, but the autistic community that I was around, I'm not used to them having an opinion, right? Because
Important point.
in my experience, you're nonverbal. We got to try and work this out, figure it out. And to me, all Isaiah cares about is getting his food, making sure his phone and or tablet is on YouTube.
Yeah, you
Like,
already know.
that's all he cares about. He doesn't care about anything else, right? So to me, there's that. Then there's the fact that autism is a spectrum. So we do have adults that are on the autism spectrum, but they're verbal. They have more. They're higher functioning. They have more control of their lives and things that they want. So you have an opinion.
Right.
I respect that, and I hear that. But I think that on their side, again, there also has to be understanding of, since autism is a spectrum, there is no one answer.
Right.
And that's really how I feel about it. I feel like when we're dealing with spectrum disorders, there's always going to be a spectrum of thought, because there's going to be something that applies to every part of the spectrum. Now, for me, if you tell me, like, if you were an autistic person and you tell me, I don't like the puzzle piece, I prefer an infinity symbol. If I'm dealing with you, then I'm going to use the
Yes.
infinity symbol.
Absolutely.
If I'm dealing with someone who doesn't care, personally, coming from I love the puzzle piece. I always thought it was dope. As you can see, the shirt I designed had the little puzzle piece, right?
Look, we're going to talk about your shirts in just one moment. We definitely got to plug that today.
I always loved the puzzle piece. So I always connected it with autism, but not in a negative way. Because like even this week, one of the posts that you sent me on Instagram where they were like having all these explanations, I was like, I think I almost felt like it wasn't fair because I'm like, all the things that they, and I'm not taking away from them. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Right.
all for, if that's how you feel,
Yeah.
I will respect that 100%.
Don't come for Tracy. She's
Yeah,
just
don't come for me.
stating.
I'm just saying, like, if that's what you tell me, like, if the whole autism community said, Tracy, we don't do puzzle pieces anymore, then we're
Right.
not doing the puzzle pieces anymore. That's fine. This is how you feel, is your community. I'm just a support. But I think it's also fair to say, like, all the things that they were saying in, like, the post, for example, about the puzzle
Right.
piece means that something's missing. I never thought of it like that.
Right.
So, like, that whole rhetoric never occurred to me because I never saw the puzzle piece in that light. I never took it to mean that a part of you is missing, a part of you needs fixing. For me, it
Right.
was always, because Isaiah was a puzzle to me as I got used to, like,
You were trying to put all the pieces
no,
together, right?
I'm trying to put all the nuances of his behavior, I'm trying to put them together in this puzzle that is Isaiah. And
Right. So you're not saying I have a puzzle and there's a piece missing.
no,
You're saying I have a puzzle and I'm trying to put the
all the
pieces
pieces
together.
together to
Gotcha.
form the complete picture.
Gotcha.
And we don't only do that with kids that are autistic. I mean, it's more present with them, but we
Right.
do that with people. Like, as you get to know people, you take all the pieces of who they are,
Right.
put them together to make up this one. So I never saw it in all the, in all of the negativity that it was presented in that
Right.
post, for example. So to me, like I started out saying, I think there has to be some give on both sides. Like, you got to
Right.
understand that if you feel this representing you that way, again, I'm not going to take that from you. You
Right.
tell me you don't want it, I won't give it to you. I don't feel like I have to fight you on what you feel is acceptable. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But I do want you to consider, I'm not looking at you that way. So all the things in that post took me by complete absolute surprise. I'm not gonna lie. And I've been around this for like maybe the last 10 years.
Yep.
And all those things took me by complete surprise. I was like, dang, that's crazy. Like, that's how they
Right.
see it. So I would never take that away. But I think that in any transition period, you have to understand that if you never sent me that post, I never would have known about it.
And that's, I think, you bring me to this idea of education. And I've seen this message a lot when I look at the actually autistic voices and some of the things that they're posting. And I'm going to share a few on the screen before we close this out because I know it's already 32. But one of the things that I recognize is there is a need for education from the actually autistic community to the rest of us. The problem is, I think that there, to some degree, is more clashing than let's just spread the message. Because for me, I'm committed to saying I'm going to share my experience from a family member, caregiver, advocate perspective. But this year, I must infuse every time a few of these actually autistic voices so I can kind of give a balance, because I don't have another frame of reference. Jeremiah cannot use words to explain to me how the things that we do are impacting him.
Right.
So even if everything that is being said is true, in our situation, it's a little bit different. And I'm going to actually play a video that I want to use as part of the segment. But I want to plug your company, Fruitful Apparel, because you have basically created a whole line. You just created a whole set for me. So you just created a whole line of different types of autism related, shirts. And so you can customize these shirts for whatever people want. So if somebody has a walk coming up, or they want to set up an event, or just something in order for them to show support for Autism Acceptance Month and Awareness Month and Appreciation Month, all the months.
All the things.
So tell folks about Fruitful Apparel.
All right. So Fruitful Apparel is it's a Christian apparel brand at its base that I started. But another branch of it is custom work, which is where the autism acceptance shirts will come in. During this month, or depending on who the design is for, I infuse something to do with autism. Like I made a shirt for a guy and his son the other day. It was one of my brand shirts, but on the sleeve patch, I put the little heart puzzle piece with the love on it, just as a sign of, it's kind of like fruitful apparel mixed with autism, bring it all together.
Right.
Um, like the shirt I have on now, which is the team. Can you see?
What does it
Team
say?
I, well, cameras make me feel crazy. Um,
Look,
it says Team Isaiah. It says autism, same road, same bricks, different view.
different view. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So these are the Team Isaiah shirts for the walk this week.
Okay.
I do shirts like that. Just in general, I mean, I'll let you show off your own shirts once you get
Look,
them.
you can show them suckers now. If you got a couple you want to strag up, I'm glad for that. So while you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and go through a couple of actually autistic voices. So I'm gonna share one of my screens here in just a brief moment. Let me see if I can share one of them. All right, give me 1 second. Let me make sure that I can see.
Yeah.
All right,
Sure.
awesome. You're still here. Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still in my baby streaming mode.
Yeah. That's what.
So, before you show the shirts, I want to share this thing that goes right in line with what you were just talking about, and let me know if you can hear it because I don't want to play it if you can't hear it. Can you hear this video?
No.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I probably have to share sound somehow.
Hmm.
Come on, give me some sound, please. I might not be able to. Let me see if it gives me an option.
Maybe the.
Oh, I probably have to click on these little dots or something, huh?
Oh, look, there's a microphone at the bottom with the line over it. On the video, on
Oh, on the video? Okay, let me try this again. Do you
oh,
hear sound now?
I still can't hear her.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about what she's saying. So, someone posted a comment. This woman has a page on Instagram called Living with Lilac, and she basically shares a lot of her experience with her daughter, who
Mhm.
is not only autistic but has an intellectual disability. But she has a lot of things that she deals with.
Okay.
And this person posted a comment. They said, because one day your daughter will see the things you've said and posted about her and resent you for the rest of her life. Congrats, Autism Mommy. Now,
That seems
I
like.
posted a comment on this because this is exactly what I was just talking about and what you were just talking about. You have a woman that is sharing her experience, educating people on her
Her.
experience. She's
Hmm.
not speaking for the whole autism community. She's
Hmm.
speaking on her experience with her daughter, right? And she is the only one that can make decisions about what she can show about her daughter versus what she can't show about her daughter. So the audacity of somebody coming on here, and I don't know if this person's autistic or not, but regardless, the audacity of somebody coming on to tell you what you're doing is wrong in your own situation, who is not taking care of you, your bills, or your daughter.
Right.
It is just it baffles me because it's like, when I look at this woman's page, for the most part, obviously she's sharing information on her journey. She shares
Right.
information on her daughter and the experiences that she has. And she talks about that her daughter has limited speech. She talks about that her daughter is disabled, and she shares some of the things that her daughter is able to do. So, I'm sitting there reading this comment, and I'm thinking to myself, why do people have to be like this?
And the
Like,
truth is, Sandy, her daughter will never look at these videos and have any opinion about them because it's not in her field of view. It's not in her frame of reference. She
look,
won't ever understand like that, and that's. I
it,
feel
it's
like that comment had to come from someone who has never dealt with anybody with autism in their life.
Sounds like it to me. And if they have, it's just shocking to me that someone would do that to someone else. I mean, everybody
Right.
has their own experiences with autism. I can't speak for my brother's experience. I can only speak for my limited experience as somebody who lives in the household and interacts daily, but I'm not the primary caregiver, right?
Isaiah and Jeremiah were in the same class. And I
Right.
guarantee that you and I have to, I cannot treat Jeremiah the way I treat Isaiah. And I've been around
Absolutely.
Jeremiah, I've interacted with Jerry. It's not the same. They're
Right.
totally different, right?
Right.
They're the same age, the same gender, we're in the same class, go to the
Right.
same school, and they're totally different. The way you have to interact with them, totally different.
It's just
So,
amazing to me sometimes. First day of Autism Awareness Month, somebody posted in the Black Autism Mom page. Though I do want others to be aware of autism, my goal is for autism to be understood and to be accepted as a neurotype rather than something that needs to be fixed. All human beings have the right to be accepted into society for exactly who we are without being shamed for who we are. And I think that's a good point that we've probably made in our conversation tonight. And I mean, it's just, you see different messages and different people. And like you just said, no two autistics are alike. Here's a post: don't support Autism Speaks. And again, I'm actually going to do a little breakdown on Autism Speaks and talk about it
yeah,
because
'cause
I
that
want people
shocked
to
me.
understand.
That
Yeah.
shocked me. I was like, what's wrong with autism? I never knew that there was a problem,
You
right?
know, I looked at Autism Speaks financial. I'm just going to speak on this briefly. I looked at their financials, and I think what some people are having problems with is what their focus is in terms of where their money goes.
Okay.
And even when I was looking at the amount of money that was spent on actual services to families,
Mm-hmm.
minuscule in
Um,
comparison to the money that they spend on media, right? On everything else. Like
that's a
everything else was much higher.
that's a corporate thing. We know how corporations
We
go.
expect that, right? We expect that. But it
I
definitely
get it.
rubs people the wrong
Rubs me
way.
the wrong way. I get it.
Um,
I
I
see.
love this page of fidgets and fries. She shares a lot of interesting
Huh. That's
things.
a cool name.
Yeah. So, I like to spend a little time kind of going through, and this person says, ever since we found out about our son's diagnosis, we've been trying to educate ourselves as much as possible. The
Mhm.
learning never stops. We found a great group of friends when we started developmental preschool, but one of the main things that was missing was not having any other Black friends with kids
Mhm.
on the spectrum. So I started following other Black parents and caregivers and educators. I know there are so many more of us out there, but there are a few. Here are a few I thought of. Joy F. Johnson, I've seen. She's actually autistic, and I'm trying to remember if she has autistic children as well.
Okay.
I'll add to this list. I'm Michelle. I'm going to probably have her on, but I'm going to try to see if I can get to her page. Um, I hope I can find hers. Maybe not. Here we go. It's M. Hobgood. She's an autism mom. Her son is like 28.
Oh, wow.
He has autism and another condition as well. You'll notice a lot of times autism parents tend to have, multiple, sometimes the children have multiple
Multiple disease. Yeah.
things. Autism in Black is another good one. I think that offers great resources to families. So just something for folks who are interested. And just a side note, there is a hashtag that is called 30 Days of Autistic Voices. And what I like about this hashtag is they go through so many different things
Hmm.
from different perspectives. And you'll notice even in the autistic community, you'll see how much of diversity there is in terms of what people focus on. But I think it's a great place to go. 30 Days of Autistic Voices. Actually Autistic, that's another hashtag. Black Autistics is another one. I mean, you can find so many great resources out there. So I'm gonna leave that
Cool.
part at that. And we're back here. So let's talk T-shirts, right? We're talking Autism Acceptance Month. You just showed us your team shirt, and now you're gonna show folks some of my
Zilla.
collaborative creations with you because you helped me a lot in kind of deciding on coloring and styles. Um, Ooh, I like that one with the butterfly. You are now invisible as a
Is
ghost.
it invisible? You know what? Let me take
Okay, I
off
saw it
this.
there.
Hold on. I might probably have to take off this virgin. Y'all get to see my living room.
All right, we see her curtains. Oh, I like that one. Autism Acceptance. That's one of my favorites.
We did the puzzle pieces and the infinity signs.
There you
Guys.
go.
Just throw everybody.
Like, tell me what you want. Like, you want puzzle piece, you get it. You want infinity, you get it too.
Right. We have this one. I like this one too.
This one I really like.
Me too.
Yeah, this one I really like.
All right. Then we have this. My favorite.
Different, not less. Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah. And then the grand finale.
Oh, snap.
Sandy all over it.
Oh, man, this is my sunflowers all day. Look, folks, I'm going to be promoting these. Yeah. This is the one right here. That's the one that's the go-getter.
It is.
So I'm going to be dropping those on my YouTube channel really soon. First things first is I'm going to be getting them so I can put them on and promote. But as I said earlier, and as Tracy has said during the stream, you know, everything that we're trying to do is about passions, right? Trying to focus on the things that we can contribute, as well as things that have meaning to us. And we both are autism family related, and we definitely look for opportunities for us to educate and support, and especially support our families. Because to me, and I know Tracy too, family is first always.
Right.
So whatever it is, we're gonna find a way to be involved and connected and supportive of it. So, all right, we went a little long on the end, but I wanted to make sure we covered a couple of points that I think were very important. Tracy, I am indebted to you. I appreciate you for sharing in this live stream conversation.
Thank you kindly.
I'm going to make a couple more announcements before we close out. So the SFAX Walk, South Florida Autism Charter School, 10th annual walk this Saturday, April the 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at their campus. You're interested? Send me a message. I will send you the details. This Thursday, I will be on LinkedIn Audio. It's best for you to go there from your desktop. It's a little bit hard for some of us on the cell phones. I haven't been able to connect. But LinkedIn Audio, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking about real estate and the probate process, things that every single one of us should know about probate and how it affects any real estate that we own. And last but not least, if you ever want to tap in and say to me, hey, Sandy, I have a perspective I want to share, or I didn't like what you were talking about, go ahead and send me a message at sandyblaw305@gmail.com. And as always, I ask you to please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click like, click share, check out the first 4 days of Autism Acceptance Month. Great videos. I talked about several different things, and say a special thank you to my guest, Tracy Small with Fruitful Apparel. If you need custom designs for your t-shirts, or you have some special projects that you want her to prepare for some shirts or other goods, please be sure to reach out to Miss Tracy Small with Fruitful Apparel. And I'm going to drop the website once again, just to make sure that you don't miss out on that. And I truly appreciate you, Tracy, for joining me this evening.
Appreciate you having me.
And I'm definitely going to, you already know I'm going to have you back, because we're going to have to talk about Autism Speaks and some other things that we're dealing with.
Girl. Let's go live on Saturday.
We got to go live on Saturday for sure. For sure. All right, guys. I hope you have a great night. Look forward to checking in with you tomorrow night. I don't know what I'm talking about just yet. I usually decide on that later on in the night when I'm sleeping. But we will definitely check in tomorrow each day for this 30 days of all things autism. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.